call this enemy the sun.
But first, hello! My name is Garvin and I read things and jabber about them on the internet for your entertainment. Today, we're going to take a step back from the stories that I've been looking at to look at the very fictional science of the Shaver mysteries. The stories written by Richard Shaver that were published in the late 40s and early 50s. There should be a playlist with the videos I've already done about the Shaver mysteries. If you'd like to know more, please take a look. So with that said, let's turn to... Richard Shaver, for his entire life, would maintain that his stories were based on true events, and that the underlying science he detailed in those stories were true as well. So, he would repeatedly state that there actually were subterranean civilizations beneath our feet, most of them very malevolent and actively seeking to harm us. And you can't experience these stories without diving at least a little bit into the strange alternative science that Shaver believed in. Now, before I get started, I should note that these theories have been pretty much disproven. Some of these ideas were competing scientific theories back in the day, but the information that we have, along with the experiments we did to get those information, show that these theories simply don't work to describe the world around us. So do not use this video as a source for your physics or astronomy homework, alright? Now, my sources are that I'm using footnotes from the story I Remember Lemuria and the book Shaverology by Richard Toronto, so please feel free to take a look at that for yourself. We, of course, start with...
My enemy, the sun.
Hands down, that is the best song Disney never used. I love it. But let me get back to the video. We have to start with the nature of the sun, because it's pretty central, pun intended, to how everything works in the Shaververse. I like that term, and we're going to use that. From now on, Shaververse. Richard Shaver, in the first story of the Shaververse, I Remember Lemuria, states that the suns are actually ancient, massive, burning planets. And the idea here is you had this life-bearing planet that had large amounts of plant life that died and formed into layer on layer on layer of coal. And at some point, life goes extinct on this planet, and this world lies dead for uncounted eons, until it's struck by a meteor or 7, and that starts a fire hot enough to ignite the coal, and now the planet is a self-sustaining inferno, which will consume the planet eventually, but that's going to take a very long time. Shaver never gives us an exact time frame, but we got to be talking at least, hundreds of millions of years for these stars to be the center of life-bearing systems, right? Which, man, that's a big planet to burn for so long, right? It's not just me thinking that. Now, in the early stages of these suns, they're burning pure carbon, which is weird because coal isn't pure carbon, but Mr. Shaver didn't have access to all of the world's information in his pocket like I do, so I'm going to cut him some slack on this front. This clean-burning carbon fire, which has a 21st century American, it's wild to think of coal as clean-burning or safe. I mean, coal kills more people every year than nuclear fission. That's not me saying that. That's the scientist over at NASA, and I'll link to that in the description. But let me get back to Mr. Shaver. This clean fire fuels life, and that life develops as ageless. So death only occurs from accident, disaster, or violence, which you think would slow down evolution, but it doesn't. Instead, you get vibrant, fertile worlds filled with life, and these worlds are prized by the various intelligent races of the Shaververse, but they can't stay on these worlds forever. Because as the fire burns down through the layers of carbon and into the heavier elements of this sun, the sun and its light grows poisonous. Radioactive particles start to flow out of the sun and poison not just the life of these worlds, but the world's air and water. This is what causes aging, according to Mr. Richard Shaver. Now, these radioactive particles can be filtered out, and as long as you purify your air and your water and avoid direct sunlight, you can avoid the worst of it. But most civilizations don't bother. Instead, they just pack up and leave, heading for newer suns and younger worlds. Or they start living like the Nortan aliens of his stories and retreat into the dark places of space where they don't have to worry about being poisoned by sunlight. That is an insane sentence to say and could only happen making YouTube videos about Richard Shaver, I feel. I've mentioned this before, but I do find this fascinating because this is the opposite of how most fantasy or science fiction shows or books from my youth would present things. Usually the benevolent beings are associated with the sun or with light. I mean, for example, in Babylon 5, the shadows, who I was talking about just a couple weeks ago, are dangerous aliens that mean nothing but ill for the main characters of the show, and they're noted for preferring the dark, cold corners of the galaxy. Their very name, the Shadows, invokes darkness, has a method of being fearsome. Here we have the good, wise races of the galaxy preferring to live in those dark, cold places, and the warm, sunny lands where you would usually find the good guys are instead the strongholds of malice and terror. It's an interesting reversal, even if we're left asking things like, what are the nature of Norcan planets if they're not orbiting a star like ours? Do they live on Dyson spheres or Dyson swarms? Do they disassemble planets and use them to build large megastructures out in the void of space? I haven't found anything that explains it in the stories I've read so far, but how about you guys? You tell me what you think in the comments below. Since in the Shaververse, suns are basically massive fires more than they're anything else, they emit ash, because what else would a fire do? In this case, they emit a superfine, pretty much microscopic ash called, and I'm guessing at the pronunciation here, XD. Most of the XD in the universe comes from when the suns finally burn themselves out, and when they do so, they emit a massive burst of this ash, and it's ever present in the universe. Because of that, XD is what powers the technology of the elder races in the Shaververse, and when filtered correctly, it can even create powerful beneficial effects, fueling growth in both the body and the mind. Even without filtering, matter is constantly absorbing the XD, and XD can even become matter under the influence of the proper magnetic fields. It's a very miraculous substance he came up with. XD is one of the reasons why people who aren't afflicted with aging in the Shaververse can grow to giant size, with Neon assuring us in I Remember Lemuria that some people can reach as tall as 300 feet, which is just insane. This process can be artificially sped along as well, using technology to focus purified XD into a person, although this is a bit dangerous, as if it's done improperly, or if the XD is not properly filtered, it can cause mental and physical deformity and a slide into a deranged evilness. It can also lead you into being overconfident and being overly prideful, along with other self-harming behaviors, but that's a plot point in a future story, so we'll circle back to that another time. This technology can also be used to directly heal injuries and disease, and in some cases even resurrect the dead. That said, XD can also be used to cause harm and power some truly awful weapons, but that is also something we'll cover in the future. The healing beneficial energy is called Gen, and the harmful energy is called Neg. Shaver created a measurement called Erg, which expresses the ratio of Gen to Neg. For example, a Erg of 90/10 means 90% Gen and 10% Neg. The miraculous XD particles are also the source of gravity in the Shaververse. Now, interestingly enough, this seems to be at least loosely based on the theory of George Louis Lesage, a Genevan physicist that lived from 1724 to 1803, and he came up with a theory of gravity that is today called push gravity or shadow gravity. The basic idea here is that there are these gravity particles that are omnipresent throughout the universe, and they are constantly colliding with you at high speed from every direction. So this creates a perfectly consistent omnidirectional push on you from, again, every direction. But when another object gets close enough, it blocks some of the particles from hitting you, so you have less push in the direction of that object. And this creates the appearance of attraction. Interestingly enough, this was one of the first theories to suggest that matter was mostly made up of empty space, which has been pretty much proven correct, unlike the rest of this theory. So the rest of the predictions made by push gravity were proven to be false, so the theory was discarded. Also, we never found any evidence of gravity particles, the legendary gravitron, which is unfortunate because if we did, we could find ways to manipulate these particles and then all sorts of crazy things would become possible. Shaver's version of this theory is pretty much the same, with the XD ash serving as the gravity particle, and the various elder races of the Shaververse control and create gravity by using particle beams and magnetic fields to divert and control the flow of XD. In the Shaververse, this is even the cause of the light speed limit, has the limit is caused by friction with the ever-present XD with your spaceship. And Mr. Shaver notes that not only is light faster in other star systems where there is less XD, but by clearing the path in front of your ship, you can ignore the light speed limit entirely and go as fast as you like with no consequences. I have to admit, I envy how easy it is to get to FTL in the Shaververse as long as you can detect and manipulate XD particles, which does seem to be the hard part. But that energy ash, as Mr. Shaver calls it, is the foundation of all the advanced technology in his stories, so we do have to cover it first. I guess maybe it's a shame there's no real-world equivalent, or maybe we're better off without it considering all the harmful effects. It's on that note that I'm going to end this week's video. I hope you found it informative or at least entertaining. If you did, please leave a like, comment, or consider subscribing, as all of that helps me in my eternal battle with the Dread Lord algorithm. Terror be on his name. You can also join the Everwise at my Patreon, where $1 a month gets you a vote on upcoming content. They are voting on next week's video right now. I hope you'll join me next week, but until then, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and of course, keep reading.